thank you so much for joining today in the voice from heaven, and with the episode The Body and the Dream. And so this is also a very interesting part of chapter 18. And chapter 18 isn't over at all. Like, we've been going through it now, I think maybe 10 episodes or so. I don't know exactly. But there's still more. And there's still, like, I can't skip them or anything. It's like, no. These are so fundamental that I like to include them all in. So I'm just staying with the pace of the book, of this book. Which is the urtext of A Course in Miracles. I'm staying with the chapters that are mentioned here, or the sections of the chapter, and that's so great. I just totally love it, to prepare it, to see it, and to remember it. And reading the book many times, but that doesn't matter. It's like, no, the remembrance is now. The way things can be revealed to you in this instant is so brand new that you could never have heard it before like this. And that's what makes it so exciting. It would be the same idea as like, how do you stay in your remembrance? How do you stay in the present moment? How do you do that? This is exactly the same principle. Like, how on earth can you stay in your remembrance? It's like, well, I really don't have time not to. I really don't let myself be distracted by time not to. And time seems to become like meaningless in my value system, in my belief system. I don't have time for time. It's more like this. So it's like the experience of that is, in fact, that you see there's a total trust in the moment of what is given, without exception. And the exception would be a reason in time. Or the exception is a detour into fear, a consideration about the future, or a past idea that you grab to hold on to for just a second. Like, I don't have time for that. So it's like right here, it's happening. This moment is so full and creative in itself that I don't need to be concerned with anything else. Literally, if I want to experience this fullness of this moment, I don't have time for any distraction. And the attraction of the, so-called distraction becomes really low. Like, there's no, it has no shine anymore. It has no color anymore. No, but the withinness in the present moment, this new moment that's being born continuously, is where it all happens. Like, literally there is nothing else going on. Now that is something else that makes it, in fact, really simple. It makes it so simple to stay right here, because there's literally nothing that appeals you to be distracted. So, yeah, whatever you call that. It's just amazing that that's possible. And I love to see that happening, and especially when there's a lot of movement of meetings that are coming up, or preparation to do, or things that completely absorb you for just a moment. Then you see it like, yes, of course I take my rest, but that's included in it too. Like, even like there's no disruption or anything of the peace that flows through your system. There is no disruption. You can pick one up if you want to, but why would you? So it's, of course, a bit of an paradoxical way of sharing this, but it's actually very functional. It doesn't work any other way, in other words. Now, coming back to chapter 18, the body and the dream, we hit immediately like a fundamental, real important part, because it's like here is where our conflict can be. You know, here's where the conflict is. You could say you walk around in a three-dimensional form, while you know there's such thing as eternity, and in fact you know the unsubstantiality of form. So here's like the climax of the psychosis, or the hypnosis, if you want, the hypnosis of the human ideas. So, it's like a climax in that, because the body is being used. It's like one of the fundamental parts in the whole dream. And so how do we relate to that then? How do we see that? If we know that you're not that, you're something else, your consciousness is what you are, and this body identity is just a superficial idea of yourself. But it doesn't stay that way. It doesn't stay that way because, in fact, it is going to be used even as a device for communication. And that in itself is just happening in the holy instant. Now we come to that, of course, too, with master teachers' speech, his discourse that we're going to listen to later on. But here it is like the body is being made ready to be a vehicle of communication, and in that it just needs to be functional, and functional in the sense of not being, you could say, like the body is being prepared for this, purified, as it is being said, like it's a purification of body and mind. And what is that? What is that purification? It's in fact to let go of any kind of law that you have connected to it, in order for it to just be another communication device, temporary communication device. And when its need is, say, fulfilled, you could say, or when it's no longer necessary to use it as a vehicle for communication, it's being laid off, as it says too. It's like it's laid off. It is, you don't need it then any longer, since you were not that anyway. So in other words, with Jesus, with Christ's mind, with Jesus in particular, in the Course in Miracles, you see, like, well, he's teaching a Course in Miracles out of body. Now that's interesting. Well, we're actually using the words, so it works perfectly. It's like he didn't need to be here physically in order to do that. No, look, it worked perfectly. There's a book right there. So you see that out of time, and there's a total communication with you. Like in this instant, there's a perfect communication taking place, and we're using it. And it's quick, and it's bright, and it's pure, and it's light, and it's not bothered by location or by physicality, or with all the habits that you have around the body. So here it is with the Course in Miracles. Then it's so great to receive that from somebody out of body, out of time, receiving it directly into your dream. Like the setup is just amazing, because it literally is going to do the same with you, you could say. Like you, if you start to follow these exercises, actually you start to apply the teaching, coming into experiences of holy instances, allowing, say, a Christ vision to dawn on your sight, seeing that can, say, move easily into a sense of, into the realm of knowing. You start to discover that all the laws that you have made and all the considerations that you had have in fact nothing to do with anything. No, it was just only for it to dissolve, to come to the core, to release the guilt, the fear of thinking that you're something else than what you are. Now, that's pretty amazing. So, chapter 18, Dreams and the Body. She is particularly interesting, isn't it? Okay, here we go. Well, There it is. There's nothing outside you. That is what you must ultimately learn, for it is in that realization that the kingdom of heaven is restored to you. Now you can't imagine that it would be that easy, right? There's nothing outside of you. That's what you must ultimately learn. And everything is set up for that, to learn that. So you think there's something outside of you. Okay, well, there's something to learn then. There isn't anything outside of you. And why would you learn that? Well, to come to the realization that the kingdom of heaven is within you, and nothing can do anything with that. For God created only this, and he did not depart from it, nor leave it separate from itself, from himself. So God created only this, the kingdom of heaven, and he did not depart from it, nor leave it separate from himself, like he includes himself into the whole of wholeness. There's nothing outside of you. So this is great to remember, of course, and it's, say, in capitals here. There is nothing outside you. There is nothing outside you. There's nothing outside you. So you can use that today as a mantra, for instance. There's nothing outside me. There literally is nothing outside of me. And this is like the key expression to come to the kingdom. But it's being said here, that is what you must ultimately learn. So it's like there's already some kind of relaxation in that. It's like you're not going to get this right away, since you placed everything outside yourself. So it's going to take a moment, but that's okay. Ultimately, you will learn this. For it is the realization that the kingdom of heaven is restored to you. For God created only this, and he did not depart from it. Like there's no separate thing outside the kingdom. There's nothing going on outside the kingdom. The kingdom of heaven is the dwelling place of the Son of God, who left not his Father, and dwells not apart from him. Heaven is not a place, nor a condition. It is merely an awareness of perfect oneness, and the knowledge that there is nothing else. Nothing outside this oneness, and nothing else within. So this is, like I said, very fundamental. The kingdom of heaven is the dwelling place of the Son of God. The Son of God never left heaven. You and your true being never left heaven. And you are not apart from him. Heaven is not a place or a condition. It's not locatable. It is not a condition that can change or anything, no. It's merely an awareness of perfect oneness and the knowledge that there is nothing else. Nothing outside this oneness and nothing else within. What could God give but knowledge of himself? What else is there to give? What could God give but knowledge of himself? What else is there to give? See, this is a great, we'll come to that in a second. So the belief that you could give and get something else, something outside yourself, has cost you the awareness of heaven and the loss of knowledge of your identity. Well, that wasn't worth it, was it? So what could God give but his own, but knowledge of himself? And what else is there to give? So taking that the other way around, it is like this. It's like, how can you know God? You can know God by receiving that for yourself. Yeah? So it's like coming into an experience. This is what we say many times. Like, this is the only thing that will convince you of the, say, existence, of the reality of God. Is your experience of your connectedness. One instant of oneness will, say, convince you forever, because it's basically a returning home, recognizing that the separation did not occur. Now, the God experience, you could say, is where we're heading to. Now, that sounds like a process. That sounds like now we have to do certain steps and then it will be all right. They're like, no, 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 no. None of that works that way. The whole misidentification that you have as what you call yourself is just in the way. So it's like that's not gonna be the Son of God. So that's why some things will be changed. Like there are some things that are changing in your transformative process. The essential one is, of course, your body, because you literally have used your body to separate yourself from everything and everyone. It's like the perfect thing for it. A separate object located in space and time, and say, with a division between others, with things outside itself. See, that's exactly what this is about. It's like, well, there is nothing outside yourself. Now what you're going to do? Can this place that you find yourself have any reality? No, of course not. Did you make it? Yeah, who else did it? Since you are separate from it, from everything you see, you must have made it. There's no other way. There's nobody else doing that. So that is interesting to see it like that, because then you also recognize, well, I don't know how to get out of this. No, that's exactly right. You don't know. You don't know how to do that. It's like, and there's no way that you can include that. You see, it's like your whole mind construct is made for the idea of separation, separate parts, the bodies everywhere, and all kinds, special bodies, not so special bodies, and all kinds of differences that you have categorized your world in. That's also interesting, of course. It's like, look at what you did. You did the separation really carefully. You still are dividing it up into separate parts, thinking that they have nothing to do with each other. And still, you might think when you stand in the elevator somewhere that there's no communication going on between the ones that are in the elevator, while there's in fact a recognition of oneness, an experience of oneness in you available, which would include everything, and seeing that there is no separate parts of any kind. So that is so amazing. In fact, it's like the upside down thinking of the human being is so intensely specialized, so incredibly worked into detail, that it is proud of what it has made, and okay, bravo, but it has no reality. It's like, okay, you did a great job. You separated everything into every detail, different skin color, different races, different religions, different this and that. Like, you did a great job, okay, wonderful, but it has no reality. And you'll have to let go of that. And what do you do? You in fact start to include everyone and everything in, because in the inclusion is the recognition that there's only one of us. Are there separate parts? Is there something outside myself? No, there is not. Not at all. So there's only one of us. And this one is home in heaven. So it's not here, it's not locatable. No, it's just a perfect awareness of oneness. That is all that is. It's consciousness. Not being able to separate parts of it. Just being the totality of what is. And I don't have to tell you that that would be the fulfillment of you, that would be the state in which you actually discover there's no need, there's no lack, there's nothing missing. It is complete. It is one harmonious beingness. And it has nothing to do with any idea that I hold about it in my separate idea about myself. Oh yeah, here we go. You have done a stranger thing than you yet realize. You have displaced your guilt to your bodies from your minds. You have displaced your guilt to your bodies. That's a strange thing to do, right? You have displaced your guilt to your bodies from your minds. Yet a body cannot be guilty. The body cannot be guilty, right? That's impossible, for it can do nothing of itself. You think you hate your bodies. Deceive yourselves. You hate your minds, for guilt has entered into them, and they would remain separate, which they cannot do, because minds are joined, right? Minds are joined. Bodies can be separated, because it is like a separate object. But the body cannot do anything of itself. So you who think you hate your bodies, deceive yourself. You hate your minds, for guilt has entered into them, and they would remain separate, which they cannot do. Minds are joined, bodies are not. Like, how would you distinguish? How would you separate your mind from someone else's? Like, there's no substance to it, there's no border at all. So it's like it is already consciousness, substance, you could say. Like, it is limitless, it is not definable, it is literally like totally different than the body. The body has a finite form, shape, but the mind doesn't have that. So that's interesting. Minds are joined, bodies are not. Only by assigning to the mind the properties of the body does separation seem to be possible. By assigning the mind the properties of the body does the separation seem to be possible. And it is mind that seems to be fragmented and private and alone. Its guilt, which keeps it separate, is projected to the body, which suffers and dies because it is attacked. To hold the separation in the mind and let it not know its unity. Well, this is a crucial part. Minds are joined, bodies are not. Only by assigning the mind the properties of the body does separation seem to be possible. It's like by misidentification, that you think you are a body. Is this possible? And it is the mind that seems to be fragmented and private and alone. Literally, you use your body for that, to prove that to yourself. You sit on that couch being lonely and being afraid and feeling very guilty. And it's only happening in your little bubble. And it has no reality, since your mind cannot separate. In the meantime, you think about everyone and everything, and about the beautiful days and the not so beautiful days. It's like you think about that with your mind, and you think that that is only experienced by you in your little bubble. That's really interesting, because you identify with the body, thinking that the body is locked up in a room you call your house, in a space, and thinking that that wall is sufficient to separate yourself off from everyone else, as if you could be locked up in a prison. Now that is not possible. and it is very well accepted in the world as being a truth. You know, it's like we lock people up in prisons thinking that we can separate them off from society, from because they're dangerous. Now, bodies cannot be dangerous, right? So what does this mind do? Is this mind separated? No, that's impossible. So even that is a crazy idea. It's like to lock people up would be a crazy idea. Thinking that that would, say, bring about a separation. Not possible. Not possible. And it is mind that seems to be fragmented and private and alone. Yeah, it looks like that. Its guilt, which keeps it separate, is projected to the body, which suffers and dies, because it is attacked to hold the separation in the mind and let it not know its unity. Wow. Mind cannot attack, but it can make fantasies and direct the body to act them out. See what happens? Mind cannot attack, but it can make fantasies and direct the body to act them out. You use the body to act out fantasies, but it is never that the body goes that. It is never what the body does that seems to satisfy, unless the mind believes the body is actually acting out its fantasies. It will attack the body by increasing the projection of its guilt upon it. Wow, that's so incredible. Look at this. Let this be revealed to you what this says. Mind cannot attack, but it can make fantasies and direct the body to act them out. That's what this world is, an acting out of fantasies. Well, is that obvious? Quite so, yes. We act out fantasies, thinking that we can fight each other, thinking that we can abuse each other, thinking that that all is possible. It's like, no, that cannot be anything but a fantasy, since you're not that body. You just project it on the body and say, in fact, your fantasies are projected on the body and you live that, thinking that that is you, and thinking that you can attack by using bodies for that. Totally insane. It's like then you have absolutely no idea who you are or what you are. Unless the mind believes the body is actually acting out its fantasies, it will attack the body by increasing the projection of its guilt upon it. The body is a limit imposed on the universal communication, which is an eternal property of mind. So the body is a limit imposed on the universal communication, which is an eternal property of the mind. Like, it cannot be taken away. Now, the body is just used to limit that communication. But the communication is internal. It has nothing to do with an outside thing. So that would never be communication in the first place. Mind reaches to itself. It is not made up of different parts which reach each other. It does not go out within itself. So I'm really excited here about what we're reading, because it literally is going to, in fact, express to you what true communication is. Within itself, it has no limits. Mind within itself has no limits. And there is nothing outside it. How could it possibly be something outside when it doesn't have limits? There is nothing outside itself because it does not have limits. It encompasses everything. It encompasses you entirely. You within it and it within you. There's nothing else, anywhere or ever. The body is outside you and seems to surround you, shutting you off from others and keeping you apart from them and them from you. But in reality, within itself, mind has no limits. There's nothing outside of it. That would be impossible. It encompasses everything. It encompasses you entirely. You within it and it within you. There is nothing else, anywhere or ever. You cannot put a barrier around yourself, because God has placed none between himself and you. Like, whatever you think you're doing, however you think you're limiting yourself, however you think you're imprisoning yourself, remember this: you cannot put a barrier around yourself, because God placed none between himself and you. Your hand can stretch out and reach heaven. You whose hands are joined have begun to reach beyond the body, but not outside yourselves. That's an interesting expression. It's very, in a certain sense, very mysterious, but really great. You cannot put a barrier around yourself, because God placed none between himself and you. Your hand can stretch out and reach to heaven. You whose hands are joined, figuratively, and maybe even, say, literally, have begun to reach beyond the body, but not outside yourselves, to reach your shared identity together. Could this be outside you, where God is not? No, of course not. So this is so lovely. I love it. I love it. So you hold your hands. It's great that Jesus uses here even body parts, you could say, in a figurative way. But it makes it very easily to grasp what is being shared here. And makes it very clear that literally there cannot be such thing as separation. Like, it is literally impossible. That's why it can always dissolve and heal. That's why it can always return back home. You know, that becomes very obvious in this expression. You cannot put a barrier around yourself, because God placed none between himself and you. And since God is everything, there you have it. Your hand can stretch out and reach to heaven. You whose hands are joined, in case you didn't know, have begun to reach beyond the body, but not outside yourselves. To reach your shared identity together, that was the reason why you did that. Could this be outside of you, where God is not? No, there's no such place like that. The sudden expansion of the self that takes place with your desire for it is the irresistible appeal the holy instant holds. It calls to you to be yourself within its safe embrace. There are the laws of limit lifted for you, to welcome you to openness of mind and freedom. The sudden expansion of the self that takes place with your desire for it is the irresistible appeal the holy instant holds. It calls to you to be yourself within its safe embrace. There are the limits, there are the laws of limit lifted for you, to welcome you to openness of mind and freedom. See, we say that in the miracle principles, a miracle principle is like there's a sudden shift in body awareness, like a sudden shift into invisibility. See, the invisibility brings you in the place where you actually are yourself, because there's only mind, you could say. There's just one mind, and that I share with God. So here is the invitation for the holy instant. The sudden expansion of the self that takes place with your desire for it is the irresistible appeal the holy instant holds. It calls to you to be yourself within its safe embrace. There are the laws of limits lifted for you to welcome you to openness of mind and freedom. Oh my God, what an offering here. Unbelievable. Well, here we have it. So come to this place of refuge where you can be yourself in peace, not through destruction, not through a breaking out, no, but merely by a quiet melting in. For peace will join you there, simply because you have been willing to let go the limits you have placed on love and joined it where it is and where it led you, in answer to its gentle call to be at peace. Come to this place of refuge where you can be yourself in peace, not through destruction, not through a breaking out, but merely by a quiet melting in. For peace will join there, simply because you have been willing to let go the limits you have placed on love and joined it where it is and where it led you, in answer to its gentle call to be at peace. Yeah, absolutely lovely. Absolutely lovely. So there's a lot here. There's a lot here to discover. And see, it's very recognizable. It makes perfect sense when you read it. It makes perfect sense. So now coming back then to the practice of it, it's like inviting the holy instant continuously is really you wanting, say you have a desire for that, you wanting the peace instead of the turmoil, you wanting to feel the joining with your brother instead of ideas of separation, you wanting to wanting to be present here now and not be distracted by time. Now this Master Teacher will share with us too in the short part that we're listening to in a moment, and this is expanding the holy instant. And so it's, I think, a 9-minute part that we're going to listen to, and it will fit perfectly, you'll see. So I'll come back to that in a second.
Yes. There have been some very major shifts in perceptual consciousness here. You know what's so lovely? You guys begin to communicate with each other in the great rays at another level of association. The more that you release your perceptual associations with yourself, this is what these high brothers are doing, the more that you'll accumulate and accumulate new energy and associate at a new thought form. If you're just being held by your own self in your own bondage of thought, you see. Remember that it's your obligation to undergo this. Don't try to experience it in relationship with your brothers, guys. It won't work. Your relationship is false. You keep trying to identify where he is in his spiritual awakening. That's absurd. He can't be anywhere that you don't posture in, man. Everybody got that? Okay. Are these holy instances happening to you now? Sure. Are these stored up in your genetic relationships? Of course. Those of you who are beginning to have these lovely memories will suddenly have a lovely memory of this. This is a memory. you'll go, oh yeah, I can remember being here and sitting here and going through this, and you'll be absolutely right. We are reminiscing about this right now. We're actually outside of time talking about it together. Isn't that fun? We're really standing outside. Is that Jesus with us? Yeah. He's a little short guy. He's about 5'4" with a hook nose and pock face. He's a 6'4" redheaded Irishman. I changed that. He's sitting right here in this chair. Whew, teacher. There he is right here. Would you like to see that energy? The energy of the Course in Miracles is this energy. Are you guys there? Remember that the Course in Miracles is an established thought form association out of time, but still in the congruity of the association with perceptual reality. All right? It's a borderland. Okay? The contact that you're feeling, although some of you may transcend it into your own whole light, will be a contact with this final Christ face. Many of you are undergoing experiences that transcend what you call the rim of fire, and you are actually going into full illuminations. When you do that, you will not long remain here, but certainly we would like to use your revelation to cause vision, which is what I'm doing. Those of you who had these lovely visions last night, some of you had some fear ones, okay, are utilizing my revelatory energy to revision yourself in association with your projections. Does everybody hear this? That's what you're doing with your mind. I'm encouraging you to use this light brightness, the Holy Spirit you call it, to undergo the re-illusionment of you to a higher framework of harmony and peace. With what? Within your own mind. This is a dream. Let's dream a true dream together for just a moment. And then we'll be out of time together, won't we? Yes. The quilt is lovely, thank you. Jimmy, you're looking good. You're going to be bouncing up real high here all of a sudden, teacher. You want to stay in the bod and walk around a little bit and get real bright? I'll do that for you if you want to, or you want to change and have a different one. Look, I repaired this one sufficiently. Huh? Well, any of you guys that, you know, stay in it, I wouldn't recommend that you trade this. I wouldn't go through another death experience. There's no need for you. This one works okay. Why not use this one? You've got a real good dream going here, right? You've got it all together. Why would you want to go through another death? Don't do that. Okay? If you're capable of hearing me tell you this, you're capable now. And I know you're early. And Jesus says in the Course, there are very few consciousness in this fold of time who have reached the capacity for a full maturation to reality. But you wouldn't be sitting here if you couldn't do it. I just took a look at what you've designed your death to be. Don't do that. No, I've already been through that. That way won't work. You think it's going to be real gentle and easy, and this one you're going to do is going to be real gentle and easy, but you're still going to have to face. You're going to come back and you're going to be sitting right there. And the next time it won't be so gentle and easy. Why? You have to undergo all of the stress and pain that you subtracted from your mind, okay, and have died rather than experience. I want to encourage you to go through the experience now, even if it appears to be painful to you. I'll give you all the sacrifice you want, but make it. Go ahead. What have you got to lose? Make the last useless journey, as Jesus calls it, the journey to the cross. Some of you are going to begin to have some lovely experiences here now. Remember that what I'm teaching you at this level is literally out of time. I am making no provisions for your future at all. A lot of you are going to go out and have a future and die. I'm not offering you that. I'm offering you the immediacy of salvation. I'm not offering you conceptual associations where you can stay here and have an establishment of a church. The church that we've established makes no allowances for time at all. It simply says now is the time when you don't need the church. Did you need the church for the moment that you needed it? Of course. Then make your whole life this church of full endeavor. Make everything that you do from this moment on a dedication of your determination to come into the new light. That's what the church is. Did I have to build my church on you? Of course, because you needed a church. Is there really such a thing as a church? Of course not, but you think there is. The church is the process of you coming from your separation to your reality. That's why I named you Peter. You denied me thrice. You keep denying me. Is there somewhere else I can build my church on? No. Those that don't deny don't need a church. So all you need to do is make that simple admission in your own new spiritual identity. Stop wanting to be crucified upside down. Remember that you are the Christ. Okay. Can you get that by following? Only by full discipleship. Okay. You instructed me to re-identify the certainty of your Christhood. That's what I'm doing. You requested from me in your mind that I show you your own brightness, how you really are in superconsciousness. It is impossible that not be so, or I would not be doing it. You had to ask me to do this. Somewhere you asked for help. And somewhere the intensity of the necessity for your help, identified by your inability to deal with the terrible things that are going on around here, have caused you to continue to ask for help in the relinquishment of your necessity to cure the evil.
All right. Thank you, Master Teacher. So continuing here a little bit, one thing I picked up out of the talk was this, and this is so essential, also fitting into dreams and the body, is this idea that what we're doing here, like in fact why we come together and how we are doing this, like you could have course groups forever. You could look at the text forever. You can do whatever you like, you know, that's perfectly all right. You do whatever you do. But what we're doing here, and that's emphasized also in the talk with Master Teacher, is in fact go to that place that you actually don't want to go, which is not necessarily intense and different. But it probably is, and that has to do with this. This is really essential, and that is the fact that you, in this lifetime, want to complete your mission, you could say, that you want to completely do this in terms of embracing this dream, embracing it, letting it dissolve, and come to the perfect recognition of your say oneness with God. See, that is why we come together. That is why you individually have decided to do this. This is also important. Like, it's your individual decision to do that. Nobody else can do that for you. You do this. It is your individual decision. Now, this is important. And the other part that is really important is this. Because of your decision, it's not that you have to suffer. It's not that you have to make sacrifices. But the one thing that is going on that is really, say, fundamental in this process is feel everything. Feel. Don't try to make it gentler, make it easier for yourself. Don't try to get out of it. Don't try to deny it. Don't try to negate it. Don't try to get, distracted. Like, no, this is the one opportunity that you give yourself. That would be the quickest way out of any kind of human circling threads of mind, human suffering, you could say. And this is your opportunity to, this time, in this lifetime, to actually go for that. To no matter what you feel, no matter how much pain you feel, no matter how this looks, and it doesn't look successful in your spiritual life at all, or whatever the idea can be, since you cannot evaluate yourself in the first place, but you decide to go through this, no matter what it looks like, no matter what you feel, no matter how you are ripped apart, no matter what is going on. You stay with that and don't let yourself be distracted. You stay right in this place. In fact, this place of refuge that we were talking about. And choose the holy instant all the time. And not choosing for a dream, a temporal use of bodies to get comfortable. Or, like this. It's like you're not going to use the body any longer to project your fantasies on. No, you recognize your oneness in mind and are opening up and feeling everything that is necessary to come to this purification of body, to make this body one again, like this body whole again. Now that is really the opportunity that is given us. And so Master Teacher emphasizes that. And in fact, the text that we went through is telling you the same thing. It's like you did a really strange thing, and that is projecting your mind, projecting ideas onto your body while the body cannot do anything. And you, in fact, you accuse yourself from the things that you did, literally in form, as a body, as this, as that, while you did not recognize one step before that you were actually setting up the whole fantasy into this three-dimensional animation that you call your life. Now that is really interesting to look at it that way. So now in the undoing of it all, is also the everything that you have done, whether that's consciously now in this lifetime or who knows how that works, is like to come to the undoing of that physically, to in fact take out all the projections, and no matter what the body responds and how it responds, what you feel, because the body in fact does not respond in the first place. The body of itself cannot do anything. So there's a purification of mind that takes place. And we call it body purification, but the body is pure. It's like there's nothing to blame on the body, so to speak. Now, to come to that full recognition that there's literally nothing outside of you, that all the healing that can possibly take place is in you, in your mind, by in fact not putting any limits on what is unlimited, by seeing that communication is whole in the first place and cannot be fragmented or limited in any kind of way, because then it's not communication. Now this recognition is where you signed up for, and that you allow yourself to go through, no matter how that looks. Like no matter what intensities you're going through, it cannot fool you. It cannot no longer fool you that the body is doing things. The body doesn't do anything. It is incapable of doing anything. So the mind projects its fantasies. The mind projects onto the body, baptizes it in guilt. And you don't want to accept that about yourself any longer. You don't have to keep doing that anymore. So that is the process that is taking place. That's why this is like a resurrection. You could say it's in recognizing the body for what it is, and not for anything else. And you see, if I say this like this, you see where your mind is entangled with the body, with very specific ideas that you think are really caused by the body. Now this is the place where the undoing is taking place, because the body doesn't do a thing. There's nothing outside of you, and you're certainly not that body. That would be impossible, since you're limitless. Now you can't say that about your body, and I don't have to. I can challenge you to feel that. So it's go run for a day, and go run 20 kilometers an hour for a day or two. You see that the body is not limited. You see that the body is limited, but your mind isn't. So that's interesting. Anyway, so this is one thing, and this was in fact, a very intimate place, an intimate moment together, because we come to the point where the commitment to waking up in this instant, in this lifetime, is really given to you, to let that occur and not postpone it and say leave it up to the future, and making a future again. In fact, being tempted to make up a future for yourself. Like you cannot afford yourself to do that any longer if you have heard this. So thank you so much for hearing that, and we help each other in achieving that goal, you could say. Totally available to let that occur, but it is an individual story. It's an individual decision. So thank you so much for being part of this, and we continue on Friday with this specific meeting of Voice from Heaven. So I hope to see you there, or maybe in one of the other activities that are available. Thank you so much, and see you soon.